Hey friends, welcome to the Infoverse today. I'm the Infomancer speaking, and I'm happy to have you here in the Infinite Realm. Today I am going to be doing another weapon review. This one's going to be pretty interesting. What I'm reviewing is a Fantasy Dragon short sword that I ordered from, you guessed it, budk. It's where I order most of my swords. They make really cheap, low quality swords, but that cheap, low quality is reflected in the price. I could spend $100 at budk and get anywhere from 1 to like 10 weapons, really. And so, depending on what you're going for, budk is a good place to check out. Anyways, when I was shopping there, I decided to get a Fantasy Dragon short sword, and to be honest, I was let down with this thing. So let me just show you my Fantasy Dragon short sword now. Yeah, this is it. Maybe if I get a bit closer, it looks more like a actual Fantasy Dragon short sword. Here it is next to my head. You can see it's a little bigger than my head, but not much. So I don't know what anybody else classifies a short sword as. I do know it's supposed to be smaller than, say, an arming sword. However, this is a little ridiculous. Here's, you can see the sheath is okay. It holds pretty sturdy. It's got a little bit of movement. It holds the knife in place with this button here. So unhook that button and let's pull out the blade for our review, shall we? So it sticks a little. I do like that. And here we have it. The Fantasy Dragon short sword. Outside of the sheath, here it is next to my head. Actually, we'll put it in front of my face. So here it is at the tip of my forehead. If I hold it straight down, it goes down to about here. So that gives you an idea of how big it is. If you can picture from your head to about the hollow of your throat. Pretty freaking small. So definitely not a short sword. When I ordered a short sword, I was expecting like a 1.5 2 foot long weapon. I was not expecting a weapon that's probably not even a foot, maybe a foot. I was expecting something probably at least twice this big. It is really, really nice looking. I do like that about it. I think this is beautiful. It says it is FM 680 stainless steel, made in China. And on this side we have Fantasy Master. So that's pretty good. This thing is so ridiculously light. I don't know if you probably can't even see the blade. I'm flinging it around so fast. And there is just no heft to this whatsoever. I mean, ridiculous. And again, just like a big problem with the blades I have from budk, super, super dull. Do you see me smacking my hand? Do you see any damage? Hey, what do you know? There is some damage. Maybe it's not as dull as I thought. Right there, if you can see it, that red spot is actually blood. Now it's gone. Coming back slowly. Right there. So maybe it's a little sharper than I thought. I did manage to cut myself at least. So that's pretty good. Actually now it kind of hurts now that I'm aware there's a cut there. I didn't notice at first. But you saw how hard I was smacking. So for only a little tiny cut, like that red spot there from all that hard smacking I was doing, not very much. Sharper than most budk blades, so that's nice. Another thing worth noting is down here in front of the hand you've got a blade. That's pretty sharp also. It's dull enough I can press against it and stuff, but if you accidentally slice, or I was to smack into my hand like that, it would cut. You can't see it anymore, but there is a small cut on the side of my thumb here, and it is from doing exactly that, accidentally slicing with that. So this is sharp. And in an actual battle, I feel that'd be pretty good, because you could strike out against your enemy with a fist strike and actually cut them. So that's nice. I really like the curve of the blade. I just really like the aesthetics of a curved blade like this. Scimitars, talwars, pulwars, all the things that have a nice upwards curve like that. Katanas not so much. I don't hate katanas, but it's just I'm more interested in European style blades, even when it comes to a fantasy blade that's completely inaccurate. I much prefer the idea of a handle and a crossguard and a double-edged blade as compared to a katana. And even other single-edged blades that are European, falchions and talwars, and here's a fantasy one that's single-edged. I like the looks of these a lot more than a normal katana. It's nothing racist against the Japanese or any Asian people, really. I just don't really care for their weapons. But it's certainly not a racist thing. I'm actually a huge fan of Japan and the Japanese culture. So it's got nothing to do with racism. It's just a case of I like this style of weapon more. But anyways, we've got this. I like the handle. It's fit really nice to my hand. I like that right here there's a spot for my finger to go past this. I feel like that offers a bit more thrusting power. I like that even though it's curved, it's got this tip, so you can still thrust with it pretty well, especially if you were to be thrusting upwards like that. I think that would work really well for that. So I do think this isn't a bad weapon, even stainless steel. As I've said in a previous video, stainless steel is bad for weapons when they are a big weapon. When it's a small weapon like this, stainless, it doesn't matter what kind of steel you use. Stainless steel isn't going to be a very big problem in such a small weapon, because there's not such a long blade with so many weak spots that are getting so much vibration. It's pretty small. It's going to be pretty sturdy. Not as sturdy as a proper carbon steel tempered and hardened blade, but good enough. This is good enough to use. You could realistically use this. I like the design. It feels really good in my hand. It's pretty light. However, it's not so light that it feels like there's nothing there. I can feel there's some heft to the blade. There is some bite here. I really like that. I feel the design is really good for if I was to place it against me and do a slice, a draw cut. I feel that'd be really good. Also put it against and do a push cut. Really, really nice. I think that's what this sword is, or sword, it's not a sword, what this knife is designed to be used for. I like that if I wanted to, I could put my finger here for even more control. I wouldn't do that because if you were to stab, your finger would slide forward onto the knife, but I do like that aesthetically at least, that's there. Realistically, you'd want to put your finger down here, which still gives you much more control, just not quite as much as that. But still nice. Again, it's got this weird hanging thing that I don't understand why this is here. There's no reason to this here. Makes no sense. And it's got this really sucky cord wrapping. And the cord wrapping only goes over for your hands, the first couple fingers, and then you're on the tang. So that's going to be quite painful if you strike anything hard on these two fingers in particularly. And the cord just doesn't feel that great in my hand. There's some people that really like the cord kind of wrap. It's just not something that I care for personally. You can see there's no guard or anything, so as far as parrying and stuff, I guess there's a little bit of one there, and because it's designed the way it is, I think if a blade was to hit, it would be kind of hard for them to hit your fingers. Of course, going down the sides, that wouldn't be an issue, and that's why you would have a guard across right there and a real sword to protect you. But not awful. This is really good for a knife design. I don't know why the string cord wrap is here. Just an aesthetic thing, I'm guessing. Same with that. There's a gap there. Yeah, you can see it. And you can see the holes in it. I don't know why those are there. I would assume it's only for weight purposes. And it's not a bad idea because I do like the weight of this thing and the feel of it in my hand. So I feel that going ahead and putting those holes there and taking pieces out for the weight of this weapon was a good design. I said in a previous video that wasn't a good design for my Kama because it wasn't heavy enough. For this knife is plenty heavy enough and works really well for that. It's got these serrated bits here. I don't like that because I tend to put my thumb there, and that doesn't feel good on my thumb, especially if I was to strike something. It's not bladed or nothing. It's the flat of the blade, so it wouldn't be awful, but it just doesn't feel right. And if something feels uncomfortable and wrong, that's an indication that this is not a good weapon. It should not ever feel wrong. It should feel very good and comfortable in the hand, easy to use, all that. And this does feel easy to use and pretty comfortable, but it's got its couple of things, like those serration things that are stabbing into my thumb, and no cover here on the tang, so you're getting the full impact force on your bare hand. So they could have definitely improved this and given it a proper handle and gotten rid of these serration things here. It would have made it much, much better. He could have gotten rid of this wrap thing because there's no reason for it to be there. Maybe it's there so that I don't have to actually put my hand on those serration things, but to reach my hand that far forward, I'm now putting 2 fingers onto this, a third onto that, and only my pinkies on the wraps. So once again, that's going to create an issue with the impact. However, I do get quite a bit of control like this. I do like that. And I really, really, really like this blade. It's just that I was really disappointed. I ordered a short sword and I barely got a knife. So if you are looking into getting the Dragon Fantasy short sword, understand you're getting a knife. You're not getting a short sword. It's a misrepresentation because this is not a short sword. It's a knife, and it's actually a really nice functional knife. I like that it's got, this isn't quite a knuckle guard, but it's kind of like a knuckle guard, and it lets you attack. I really like the design of this thing. I just feel that they needed to get rid of these serration things here and give it a proper handle. And then it would be a great knife, not just a decent one that you could use, because I would use this in battle as a sidearm if I was to lose my big pole weapon, because preferably if I was going into battle, I'd start out with a halberd or poleaxe, berdiche, something like that. I would have a long sword as a sidearm, and then if as a secondary sidearm, in case I lost both my polearm and my long sword, I would have a knife or a dagger, and this seems like a good enough design. I would take that into battle, especially if it got the couple of things that I said needed to be fixed on it. I think that would really make it better. I would fill in this hole here, because even though the weight's good, if I'm going to be striking people with this, I want it to be sturdy and strong. But all in all, this is a pretty good design, and I'm pretty happy with it. My biggest complaint is that I was expecting a short sword, and this is definitely not a short sword. I don't care how you look at it. Something this small is not a short sword. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this weapon review of the Fantasy Dagger, or the Fantasy Dragon short sword from budk. Again, I think it's a great weapon, and it's just not a short sword, and that's really my only complaint with it. It's got a couple of things that could be improved upon, but even without those, it's a fully functional knife. Not short sword, knife. And it would be really good to have strapped in your boots or as a secondary side weapon for in case of an emergency, because it's a pretty good design and I like the way it looks. Anyways, this is just, again, my personal opinions and thoughts. Somebody with actual training in HEMA or martial arts in general might have different opinions and come to different conclusions than I did, but based off of my own experiences and my own observations, this is what I feel this knife is a functional knife and not a short sword. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this weapon review. As always, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit the like button and leave a comment below. And I look forward to seeing you here in the Infoverse next time on whatever videos I decide to do. And until then, you guys have a good one.